A city's landscape is not merely the frosting on the cake. Trees, shrubs, flower beds, and lawns blend with waterways, natural areas, architecture, and other facets of a city, both reflecting and shaping the community's personality. Tree planting has been part of every stage in American history. In building cities all across the continent, in post-war recoveries, and as a means of stimulating commerce and culture. But trees in America's cities are in trouble. We are losing them 2 to 4 times faster than we are replacing them. We're losing our older trees because we don't understand how they work. We do things to them, not for them. Few towns and cities take care of their mature trees at all. Those that do too often use methods based on either bad science or no science at all. Too late we discover that we have done more harm than good. Sidewalks are repaired and power lines are cleared with efficiency in mind, but little thought for the needs of our trees until too late. And during construction, we find that instead of preserving our dreams, we're creating problems that will later require expensive solutions. All in all, we're actually killing off our older trees. We assume that the way we plant trees is right because we've always done it that way. Too late, we discover that we have a lot more to learn. We call trees our renewable resource and assume that this includes city trees. We assume that urban trees can thrive with little help or understanding from man, as they seem to in the country. But we're discovering that in a city or town, practically everything works against trees. The right tree in the right place is the product of thought and hard work. Having good trees begins with a clear understanding of how they work. All trees use water and carbon dioxide, plus energy from sunlight to make sugar, every plant's basic building block and food source. This sugar is dissolved in water and piped out of the leaves and down through the tree to where it is needed for growth and defense. All movement of water, sugar, and other materials takes place through the tree's tubular cells. Just as sugar moves downward from the leaves, water and minerals move upward from the roots, drawn by evaporation through the leaves. A large tree may have over 30 miles of roots, with about 5 million root tips, plus many small colonies of beneficial fungus. These hair-like feeder roots and their fungus associates are thin-walled and specially adapted for absorbing water, minerals, and oxygen, which must be present in the small spaces between soil particles. These absorbing roots feed into long, thin conducting roots, which carry water and minerals back toward the trunk, merging into massive brace roots. 95% of the root surface area is in the top 12 inches of soil, because this is where roots find the best combination of minerals, moisture, and oxygen. In the wild, the width of this root zone is typically 4 to 10 times branch spread. If we adjust our ideas about roots, we can avoid many expensive and embarrassing mistakes. Throw away the idea that the root system is more or less a mirror image of the crown. Discard the notion of a large taproot, especially in clay soils. Forget the idea that the root zone lies within the drip line. What does this say about large trees in the narrow strip of soil between curb and sidewalk? And have we really protected a tree if we dig a trench near its trunk? Destruction of roots and their soil habitat costs us many valuable trees. A large share of our tree problems occur because roots can't grow well enough, or because they grow more than we expect, or because we damage them. Extended flooding, compaction that squeezes out airspace, addition of more soil, physical damage, Anything that disrupts the soil or the roots themselves makes it difficult or impossible for the tree to live. An understanding of roots explains why the best way to fertilize is usually by surface broadcasting, and why deep watering often misses the target. Remember this: roots need water and minerals from the soil, oxygen that is penetrated into the soil, and plenty of space. The most immediate problem we face is what to do for our existing trees. Those already falling apart should be removed and replaced. The rest deserve the best techniques of pruning and other types of maintenance. Anything less will kill them. A tree that is ignored or mistreated sooner or later lets us know. And the city usually gets the bill. While many problems with mature trees come from neglect, an appalling number occur because, meaning well, we routinely do the worst things that can be done to them. Let's look at the misunderstandings that threaten our trees. Probably the worst myth is that trees heal. A tree wound may close, but internal decay continues if we cause the tree's natural defenses to fail. Rot may spread until the tree can no longer support its own weight. Remember, tree wounds don't heal. Another highly destructive myth says that topping benefits a tree by controlling its height, while at the same time rejuvenating it by forcing vigorous new growth. But there is more bad news than good. First, the new shoots quickly replace the weight removed during topping. These shoots are not part of the tree's overall structure, but are only weakly attached to the surface layers of wood. A topped tree may look vigorous and healthy in summer, but in winter we can see how rot spreads downward from a topping cut, undermining the branches newly formed from sucker growth. Topping creates problems for the health and safety of a tree. Almost as damaging as topping is flush cutting of branches. Back when tree workers still used hand saws for most work, they usually made the final cut properly, outside the collar at the base of a branch. But lightweight chainsaws have helped create another deadly myth, that flush cutting is the professional way to prune. This hollow, which developed from an old flush cut, shows that from the tree's viewpoint, flush cutting is a giant step backwards. The 1970s brought fundamental changes in our understanding of trees. Since then, we have begun to re-examine all aspects of tree care. We have taken a closer look at the myth that pruning paint and other dressings can prevent rot. We now know that tree paint can actually cause decay to spread faster. It turns out that the best way to prevent decay is not paint, but simply proper pruning. If you flush cut the branch collar away, you remove the natural barrier that resists the spread of decay into the parent trunk or branch. And people have wasted a lot of money on another myth, cavity filling. This practice can create worse problems than it sets out to cure. The usual procedure was to clean out as much decay as possible, then trowel in layers of concrete to form a slightly flexible column for new wood to grow across. But cleaning out the cavity usually damages the layer of decay-resistant wood that the tree forms to prevent rot from spreading into newer wood. This barrier zone is the tree's strongest defense against decay, and it must be protected. Undoubtedly, further surprises are in store for us as new tools become available, and as we learn more about the long-range effects of pruning, cabling and bracing, lightning protection, and other practices. These changes will come about not because the trees have changed, but because we understand them better. How many more trees will we lose because we learn so slowly? The best way to have safe and healthy trees is to start when they are young. Choose good trees, plant them well, keep them watered, and give them good preventive pruning. What is a good tree? And how can we make good trees better? First, we must quit making life tougher than necessary for trees by planting them too deep or in hot weather, using too much mulch, watering too little or too much, and piling on fertilizer for a quick green up. Planting trees doesn't have to be difficult. The hardest part is in the planning. But especially in cities and towns, preparations are crucial. Step 1 is good design, choosing species and locations that will continue to produce the desired benefits long after the initial work is done. Although everyone loves an avenue with an overarching tree canopy, trees near a street must usually compete for valuable space. For better or worse, wires, pipes, and pavement usually win in the long run. Healthy, well-formed nursery stock is essential, and it is vital to fit our planting practices to the limitations of the site and the needs of the trees. Only recently have we understood that trees need a wide, fairly shallow root zone, not a deep hole. And we often overuse mulch, which is simply a substitute for natural leaf litter on the forest floor. Too much mulch is a waste of time and materials and actually damages trees instead of protecting them. And contrary to recent custom, topping a newly planted tree is one of the worst things that can happen to it, setting it up for severe structural problems as it matures. Although we may love the elegant grace of multiple stems and forked trunks, we must learn that these are the weakest possible tree structures. All in all, the shortest route to having good trees is education, Arbor Day observances, college co-op programs, professional education and certification for utility, municipal, and commercial workers, and 100 kinds of help to fit special needs, such as managing the trees on construction sites. The real job of urban forestry is to bring the very best science and management to bear on the green aspects of community life. One major problem is a town's backlog of existing hazards. Another is planting trees to replace those we have lost. Another is preventing problems in our young trees as they mature. Such urban forestry work benefits the trees, but just as important, it serves planners, engineers, utility managers, and elected officials. In fact, it helps everyone concerned about how public funds are spent for the community's needs. Urban forestry helps make a city more livable while increasing its property values. But perhaps more important, it offers citizens a chance to speak to future generations in a lasting way about our hopes and dreams for them. The key to realizing these possibilities is leaders such as you, with an understanding of the problems and with the vision to find solutions. Help is as close as your telephone.